what this Ebola could cause. Well, can you imagine you come back from work and your child says, oh, daddy, don't worry, go and wash your hands first. Tony Uranta is joining me for these discussions. Tony is Executive Secretary, Nigeria National Service Group. He's also the Secretary General. Yeah, Secretary General of United Niger Delta Energy Development and Security Strategy. All this. That has been ongoing for quite a while now.
Oh yes.
Is it a limitless tenure or what?
No, this is my second tenure.
Okay.
I am not going for third term.
You can't push for third term. If there is, please go. All right, Tony, good to see you.
The pleasure being here.
Okay. I'm taking you on so many things, but let's start with the Osun election first. It's just less than 48 hours to that very crucial election. We should start with that. All eyes are actually on Osun election. The reasons are obvious because it's following on the news of Ekiti, which many people saw as an upset. The belief is with what has been played out over these past few weeks in Osun State, will Osun be another surprise package as well. And of course, the other issue I would also like you to navigate will be the national conference. You played a major role in building the foundation for that national conference. I'll be finding out from you whether the conference, the way it's ending now, whether it has met your expectations. But let's come back to Osun. It's less than 14 hours, what's your take on the build-up to the Osun election?
Well, basically, I have felt that there is a standard build-up to all elections in Nigeria. Everybody makes claims, everybody claims that the other party is planning to rig, and everybody goes around sharing rice and tomatoes, or rice, as the aspirant said. But the worrying, for me, the worrying thing now is the resurgence of these continuous threats. I am non-partisan, but I hate it when any politician or political party makes statements that could incite violence or statements that could incite, destabilize the community, the polity. For example, when you say we shall form an alternative government.
In 2015.
In 2015. That in itself, even though it's not related directly to the Osun case, it's also going to impact the Osun situation. Because you're implying that what we're talking in Osun about, supposedly about Osun, for the chairman of the party, the APC, Chigoyegun, whom I respect a lot, before he brought in the question of 2015 and an alternative government.
Is alternative government not the same thing as shadow government?
We don't
to keep the party in power, in check.
Basically, I believe that you need an opposition so as to keep the party, the government in check. And whether you call it opposition or shadow government, it is there.
Alternative government or shadow
But
government.
when you start stating it, any party that loses automatically becomes the shadow government, so to say. But when you start saying it with the kind of venom with which it was stated, you are implying that you are going to again probably make things ungovernable for whoever wins. I personally believe that Gbenga Aruleba in Osun has done quite a bit. But I will not take away what was done by Oyinlola in the past, by other governors, and I cannot say that Omishori will not do as well. What I do not want, or I do not like, is your people saying things like, go to the polls armed, even if the arms turn out to be just as has been very corrected. Chams. My good friend, the governor, said, Chams, you know that one has no legal implications. No, that's wrong.
Who said that?
Gbenga Aruleba.
I've not heard that.
He said voters, go to the polls, ready to defend your votes. Even when you're going, take chance. Don't take cutlasses. Take chance.
Well,
now,
I didn't hear that, but if
the law of Nigeria,
if really said that, well, that would be strange. After all, we had a head of state before who also advocated that we should go to South Africa and use juju to drive out the
well, it wasn't the head of state really.
That time, it was not head of state.
No, people that advocated it at that time.
Are you sure it was not Obasanjo who advocated it?
No, it wasn't Obasanjo. Well, it was in the stadium. The point is, it is a criminal offense. Even though there are laws in Nigeria that were written during the colonial era by white people. And they say your possession of, they call it juju, is a criminal offense. So, even though we know that the average Nigerian, even those that go to church and go to the mosque, carries one charm or the other.
Suppose it's for protection.
Oh yes.
So that if push comes to shove, you don't see me. or you are seeing me, you are seeing double.
Or a baller don't see me. Or whatever. We can't keep on instigating people. We must be ready to accept results as a play out. I agree that there is rigging. I believe that all the parties rig. I believe that every politician in Nigeria, given the opportunity, will rig. In fact, I say to everybody that you have to be careful about even the security officials, they can help rig. But that is now the case. The Osun State governor has appealed to the SSS to provide security, increased security. Therefore, I find it also odd that some people in that same state are quarreling about increased security.
Is that the reason why the SSS will empty all its personnel into Osun State?
Well,
if
he has put, no.
Does the level of security threat warrant that?
No, the SSS should be moderate, sending just enough to take care of the place. For example, soldiers are not part of the electionary process.
Yeah, but soldiers are on the soil.
They cordon. What they're supposed to do is cordon to close the border, so to say, for the period of the elections. Okay. I mean, when we heard about a governor trying to drive into Ekiti, and it is alleged that he had a van full of whatever and refused that the van be searched. Now, whether this is true or not, there are different levels of security, but there mustn't be overkill, and nobody must be threatened. There must be a free playing field, level playing field that allows every voter to cast his vote without feeling intimidated.
Okay, let me quickly ask you whether if the security is truly for the people, because the essence of security during election is to reassure the electorate that if you go out, you will be going out in an atmosphere of peace to cast a vote and return to your house peacefully. To that extent, shouldn't that security be personal? In other words, shouldn't people see those security personnel? How then do you defend the situation whereby, as it's been alleged, both in the orthodox media and social media, that you see soldiers everywhere, you can't identify them because they are all hooded and all of that?
I think that's wrong. A soldier should not be, any security officer should not be hooded. They're not fighting terrorists, and that's wrong. They should be deployed. We need security, heightened security, especially because of, in this case of Osun, I want to say, as a pundit looking at it very dispassionately, it might be make or break for both parties. if after Ekiti, if Osun falls to PDP, the Southwest may fall to PDP. If the APC retains Osun, the Southwest may be retained by APC. So
The stakes are high.
the stakes are very high. Now, because the stakes are high, and because we have had cases where party leaders at national level have said things like, if we don't win, blood will flow. If we don't win, people will die. My very good friend, I won't name him, but a former FCT minister, every time when I meet him, he just tells me, Tony, go and tell your friend. I said, but you are my friend also. Go and tell him, if you don't want blood to flow.
Who that your friend? I made the president. That would be the president, your friend.
I assume that's the one he's talking about. I guess it could be anybody.
You know you're a very privileged Nigerian. You're probably one of the very few people who can see the president.
No, I see everybody. Like you, Gbenga. I try to see everybody. I try to remain, because they all know I'm not a partisan person. But everybody knows, that one I don't make bones about, that I support Jonathan unapologetically. And until PDP or the opposition throws up a viable, credible alternative, I will continue to support him. I supported Fashola unapologetically. I support Oshomole. I support Miracle. I supported Peter Obi. So I don't support people based on the parties they belong to. I support them based on my knowledge of them as individuals and what I'm seeing that they're bringing to the table. And when I support them, I make it open to every other person. And well, if people have been hurt, you're my friend, why don't you support me? But I think
you're my friend, why are you supporting my enemy?
Why are you supporting my, well, so General Obasanjo taught us that in politics there are no enemies. I mean, former President Obasanjo. So when he was talking to Rotimi Amechi, he was calling everybody his enemy. He taught us that no enemies. Politicians and statesmen don't talk like that. But basically, they sometimes grumble that you seem to be supporting my opposition. But over time, I guess everybody has come to understand that I have only one vote. So if I support him and I'm going to have one vote, make sure you get one vote
from other people, from other friends.
Yeah, from other friends.
But let's look at security and election. You already said that the stakes are high, and that probably justifies the need for heightened security.
Yes.
Or at least for security to be
increased
to some level. But let's also see the control of the security apparatus. Does that not make the playing field on evil? Because whether we like it or not, one of the contestants will use the security apparatus or has the means of controlling the security apparatus. And it may be to the disadvantage of the opponent.
Well, I do not know exactly.
How do we check that?
I do not know exactly how far I can buy into that supposition, because the fact is that the federal government of Nigeria controls this apparatus. Now, you are extrapolating logically that the federal government of Nigeria, being virtually a PDP government, PDP would have control of the apparatus.
Not just that, you have a Minister of Police Affairs who is a third-party member of a political party.
In Osun.
And incidentally, he's also from Osun, this particular case. You have a Minister of Defense or Minister of State of Defense who will be a politician.
And has been in Osun for some time now.
Well, I don't know all of this. Those may be true, but I'm just talking generally that when you have that kind of scenario, and you are in a build up to an election, and these are the people who have the control of the security apparatus, and they are third-party members of a political party that obviously will be interested in that election. How do you check possible misuse or abuse?
You cannot, based on the scenario at now, which is one of the reasons why we called for the national conference. we have to rejig, we have to reinvent this nation. You cannot put excessive power in the center. And if the center now falls, because it will fall into one hand, one party will control the center always. That means automatically the ACN, if it gets in 2015 in the presidency, it controls the police, the SSS, the MIA, the DIA, no. Now, blessedly, though I understand some people are trying to get the reports of the conference Scotland. But at the moment, we know, and thankfully, that the National Conference decided, there was a consensus, that there be a multi-layer, multi-tier police system. That would have been more ideal, because then you would have federal police, so a very light presence of federal police, but mainly the state itself would have its police, and of course local governments and boroughs and cities. So we know that there is a power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. But it seems that we love, it's very interesting because we called for a national conference, and the very people who would have benefited from the change, who will benefit from change if they can change this system, for example, which is the APC. First of all, bad and did not participate, at least did not participate officially in the national conference. Even though they had representatives, I would call from APC controlled states, but the APC kept on saying, we are not part of this conference. Now, they would be the first line beneficiaries of something like this, because there would be an ability for the nation to now have power divested and not solely concentrated in the center as it's being done now. Well, I want to believe, I want to hope that, especially in the Southwest, the South, I was born and raised in the Southwest. The Southwest is one of the most dynamic regions or zones in Nigeria. And you cannot be totally idealistic. You have to be pragmatic when you are playing in whatever field you are playing there. I want to believe that the realities of the situation of, say, for example, whilst I do not subscribe to it, the governor having said, come to the polls with your champs, will make people think twice about going, abusing their power. I remember during Wete in the 60s, people were more afraid of the Agbekoyas because police would not go against them. They said they would make their uniforms stick to their bodies and things like that. We are spiritual people, and we believe in what we believe in. I'm sure that people will be circumspect before they go out to abuse power. But security must be maintained, security agents must be deployed. But whilst I hope that soldiers will use only to cordon boundary or borders, and they will be identifiable. In fact, every security agent must be identifiable. I think that's a minimum irreducible level that we must have. If not, a thug could now put on a uniform and cover his face, even mingle with other security agents, and they will not know. Boko Haram could come in there and create havoc if they are hooded. So in the interest of all parties, there is a need for those security agents to be identified, but that they need to be there. I don't think there should be any dispute about that.
Okay, let's look back a little bit, see how security and security awareness played a major factor in the Ekiti election. The position of the APC has been that it lost in this election because of the that the state was over protected. I don't want to use over police now because it was not just police, we had soldiers as well. Excuse me. And that all of these played in the favor of the exam. What's the reaction?
Well, like I've said, every party